What if the most valuable thing you own isn't your money, your car, or even your time, but your attention? And what if right now someone is making a fortune by quietly stealing it? Every scroll, every click, every second. You think you're in control, but the system was designed to keep you hooked, not entertained, not informed, just engaged. In this episode of Grow Leap Academy, we're pulling back the curtain on the silent economy that runs your digital world. We'll uncover how your focus became the hottest commodity in tech and how to protect it before it's completely gone. Let's dive in.
Okay, so you ever have one of those days? You sit down, you're totally determined, like, I'm going to focus on this one important thing. And then, you kind of look up and whoosh, 20 minutes, maybe more, just vanished.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe you just glanced at your phone, right? For just a second.
Exactly. Or you click one notification and suddenly you're deep down some rabbit hole you never intended to explore.
Yeah, that feeling like you're constantly being pulled away, like your brain's got way too many tabs open and it just keeps hitting refresh on its own.
That's such a good way to put it.
It's become incredibly common, hasn't it? And it feels like we're, losing something really valuable in the process.
It really does feel that way.
Yeah.
Like our ability to just, be present, to actually focus. And that right there is exactly what we're diving into today.
Okay.
Something that's maybe surprisingly become this incredibly valuable, contested thing in our modern world. We're talking about your attention. Why everyone's calling it the new currency, and how these really powerful forces are actively competing for every single second of it.
Right. And our mission really in this deep dive is to try and pull back the curtain a bit based on the material we've been digging into.
Yeah.
We want to understand the mechanics, How does this attention economy actually work? What are the subtle ways, and sometimes not so subtle ways, your attention is being captured?
But what's the real cost? What's it doing to us?
Exactly. And crucially, what can you actually do to start reclaiming some of that focus?
Yeah, the stuff we've looked at paints a really fascinating, maybe slightly alarming picture. It really lays out the strategies behind this constant competition for our eyeballs, our focus.
It highlights just how much is at stake.
It really does. So where do we start? How did we even get here?
Okay, so one core idea that kept coming up is this analogy. Think of the internet, especially the social media side, like a giant free store.
A free store, okay.
You walk in, everything seems available at no cost, right? Information, connection, entertainment, news. It's all just there.
Seems great.
But you are paying. You're just not paying with money necessarily. You're paying with your time. You're paying with your data, your browsing habits.
You're paying with your attention.
Precisely. Your attention is the currency. And that flips the whole traditional business model upside down.
Right, because in this world, so often, you aren't actually the customer buying a product.
No. You, or rather your attention, is the product being packaged and sold.
Sold to advertisers, data brokers.
Exactly. Now look, attention has always had value. That's not new. Advertisers have always paid for space and magazines, for TV commercial slots, for billboards.
They wanted your eyes, your focus for a moment.
Right. But what the research really emphasizes is that the digital age, the internet, it just fundamentally changed the game.
How so?
Well, suddenly that attention wasn't just a fleeting glance anymore. It could be tracked with incredible precision, measured, analyzed.
And monetized constantly, persistently, and on a really personal level.
Yeah. And this led to a huge realization for the big tech companies. They figured out they didn't always need to sell you a physical thing or charge a subscription fee up front.
They could make enormous amounts of money just by holding your gaze.
Pretty much. Just by keeping you watching, scrolling, clicking. Because the longer you stay, the more ads they can show you.
And maybe even more importantly, the more data they collect about you.
Which helps them get even better at keeping you hooked, showing you more relevant ads, predicting what you'll click next. It's a feedback loop.
It becomes this sort of digital hamster wheel designed to keep you spinning.
Exactly. And the outcome. Attention basically became this super valuable commodity. Some people call it digital gold, maybe even more valuable than oil in this new economy.
So the focus shifted from like manufacturing physical products to manufacturing engagement.
That's a great way to put it. Manufacturing engagement. Keeping you engaged is the core business model for huge parts of the internet.
And it feels so different from a normal purchase, doesn't it? Like when you buy coffee, money leaves your wallet. You feel that cost.
Right.
But spending attention, scrolling through a feed, watching a couple of short videos, it often feels free. Sometimes it even feels good, that little hit of novelty or connection.
Yeah, it's stimulation. But the material we're drawing on really reminds us that something was exchanged in that moment.
Your time, your focus, your mental energy, all finite resources.
Traded for that little bit of stimulation, distraction, maybe temporary satisfaction. It's an invisible transaction in many ways.
And it wasn't an overnight thing either, was it? It was more of a slow creep.
Definitely. A slow shift. We moved from, scheduled media like a TV show starting at 8 p.m. or going to the movies, things with clear beginnings and ends and breaks.
Appointment of viewing?
To this world of constant on-demand streams. Information, entertainment, notifications, all flowing 24/7.
And that line between just relaxing, just being, and just quickly checking something got incredibly blurry.
And the just checking started taking over more and more of our potential downtime, didn't it? Filling every little gap.
Yeah. So it really brings us back to that fundamental question. If your attention is this currency, how are you actually spending it day to day?
And maybe, more pointedly, who's getting rich off those countless little microtransactions of your focus?
It's a sobering thought. So why? Why are they so fiercely after our attention? Advertising money is obviously part of it.
It's a huge part. But the material suggests the deeper goal often goes beyond just showing you ads. It's about influencing your behavior.
Okay, how did that work?
Well, the most effective way to shape behavior is to tap directly into the wiring of your brain.
Right, this is where it gets kind of fascinating and maybe a little bit unsettling.
Yeah. The platforms, the apps, they are expertly designed to leverage these ancient systems in our brains. Our brains are basically prediction machines, right? Constantly scanning for novelty, potential threats, potential rewards.
Stuff that helped us survive way back when. Find food, avoid danger.
Exactly. But modern tech has figured out how to hijack those very same reward pathways. The same systems that can drive addictive behaviors like gambling or, obsessive checking.
How do they do that specifically?
One of the absolute killer mechanisms is something called variable rewards. Think about a slot machine in Vegas.
Okay, pull the lever.
Right. You pull the lever and the outcome is totally unpredictable. You might win big, you might get a little back, you might get nothing. It's that uncertainty, that possibility of a reward that makes it incredibly addictive.
Ah, okay. And social media.
Uses it constantly. You pull down to refresh your feed. What's going to be there? Will someone have liked your post? Is there a new comment? Some piece of juicy gossip or shocking news?
That little dopamine hit.
Exactly, that unpredictable little pulse of dopamine. It's the brain's pleasure and motivation chemical. It's like pulling a digital lever, designed specifically to keep you coming back for just one more pull.
Wow. And it's not just the rewards, is it? It's the whole design.
Oh, absolutely. The design itself is meticulously engineered to remove any friction, any pause point where you might actually stop and think.
Like infinite scroll. There's just no end.
Right. No natural stopping point. Or autoplay, the next video just starts immediately without you choosing it.
Push notifications constantly yanking your attention away from whatever you were doing.
All these little design choices, they chip away at your moments of conscious decision-making. They make it easier to just keep going, keep consuming, lose track of time completely.
And then there's the personalization aspect, which is kind of scary.
It's incredibly powerful. Every single thing you do online, where your eyes linger, what you click on, how long you pause on a video before swiping.
That's all data.
All data fed into these incredibly complex algorithms that learn exactly what keeps you personally engaged. They figure out your specific triggers, your interests, your anxieties, your emotional buttons.
So the content isn't just random, it's calculated.
Highly calculated, often optimized not just to inform or entertain you, but specifically to provoke a strong emotional response.
Like anger or excitement or fear.
Even insecurity sometimes, because those strong emotions are incredibly effective at capturing and holding your attention much longer than neutral information.
So even though it feels like you're freely choosing what to click on next.
The system is constantly learning you, predicting you, and subtly guiding your choices, always optimizing for its goal, which is maximum engagement time.
So it's really being stolen, I guess, isn't just the minutes on the clock.
No. It's something deeper. It's your fundamental autonomy over your own focus. It's the theft of your ability to choose where you direct that incredibly valuable attention.
Instead of having it constantly pulled away by these external prompts and algorithms.
Exactly. And the material we reviewed is quite clear on this. This is engineered. It's by design.
Not necessarily out of pure evil intent from every single person involved.
Probably not, but the system itself, the economic incentives, they're built on the fundamental premise that attention is the most profitable commodity available.
And so the entire architecture is optimized to acquire and retain it, pretty much whatever that takes.
That's the logic of the system.
Okay, so let's talk about the consequences then, the downstream effects.
Yeah.
What does this constant state of fractured attention actually cost us as individuals?
Yeah, the sources describe it really well as a kind of slow leak. It's not like a sudden catastrophic loss.
You don't necessarily notice the full impact day to day.
Right. But over time, it slowly erodes these really valuable capabilities.
Like what?
Well, one of the biggest ones is the loss of depth and clarity in our thinking. When your attention is constantly being shattered and pulled in a million directions,
It gets really hard to think straight, doesn't it?
it gets incredibly hard to engage in deep thinking, to follow complex arguments, to make sustained progress on anything truly meaningful, whether it's work or a personal project.
I remember reading this detail, and it was pretty sobering. Some studies suggest it can take, upwards of 20 minutes to fully get back into a state of deep focus after a significant interruption.
That's right, over 20 minutes. Now think about how many quick checks of email or notification glances or little context switches you have in a typical day.
Dozens, maybe hundreds.
Probably. And each one isn't just the 30 seconds lost in the moment. It's potentially another 20 minutes of your peak cognitive capacity just evaporated.
That's an incredibly expensive tax on our ability to get things done.
It really is. And then there's this constant barrage of tiny decisions we have to make.
Like, should I open this notification? Should I click this link? Do I need to reply to this message right now?
Exactly. All these micro choices, they lead to what psychologists call decision fatigue.
Right. Your willpower gets worn down.
Precisely. Your mental energy gets depleted by these constant, often trivial choices, and that makes you more prone to impulsivity, more reactive.
And more likely to just choose the easy path, which is usually...
More scrolling, more distraction, the path of least cognitive resistance.
And what about our relationships? How does this affect connecting with other people?
Oh, profoundly. Even if you're physically present with someone, your partner, your kids, a friend,
If your attention is half on your phone,
they feel it. Everyone feels it when someone isn't truly present. It communicates, subtly or not so subtly, that they aren't as important as whatever might pop up on that screen.
ouch. Yeah.
And over time, that constant partial attention, that lack of genuine presence, it really erodes trust, connection, intimacy.
It's deeply ironic, isn't it? These devices marketed as tools for connection.
Can end up doing the exact opposite, disconnecting us from the people who matter most, right there in the same room.
Wow. Okay, and bringing it back to the individual level, the sources mentioned something about identity, too.
Yeah, this was interesting. The idea is that if you consistently allow algorithms to dictate where your attention goes.
Which means they're shaping what you see, what you think about.
Exactly. When your information feed is constantly optimized to keep you clicking, often by triggering strong emotions or focusing on, superficial trends or outrage,
You can start to lose touch with your own stuff.
you can start to lose touch with your own internal compass, your own intrinsic goals, your values, your passions, what you actually care about, independent of the algorithm.
So you end up living this sort of reactive life, dictated by whatever pops up next.
Instead of proactively, intentionally building the life you want to live.
So the real cost, when you add it all up, according to the material, it's pretty massive.
It's significant. It's potentially the loss of your ability to live life on your own terms, to be fully present, to think deeply, to create meaningful things, to truly grow as a person.
You risk getting stuck in this kind of perpetual digital haze.
Driven by external forces, instead of you being in the driver's seat.
Okay, that's a lot. But the good news, right, is that the material doesn't just leave us there.
No, definitely not. It's not just about diagnosing the problem, thankfully. It offers some really actionable strategies for how to start fighting back.
And it's not about, throwing your phone in the river and becoming a hermit.
Not at all. It's about becoming much more intentional, much more strategic about how you engage with technology.
Awareness is maybe the first step.
Awareness is the first act of resistance. And then consciously designing your environment, your habits, that's the crucial second act.
Because the fundamental truth, the one we have to keep coming back to, is that your attention isn't infinite. It's a finite, precious resource.
Absolutely. And every time you give it away to something trivial, something that screams loudest but doesn't actually matter,
You're implicitly saying no to something else, something that could be genuinely important for your work, your relationships, your well-being.
you have to start treating it like the valuable resource it is. Invest it wisely.
Okay, so what are the steps? The material laid out, 6 key areas?
Yeah, 6 practical steps to start managing attention more effectively.
Step 1.
Step 1 is basically audit your digital environment. Get honest about what you're consuming.
Like you wouldn't just eat junk food all day and expect to feel good, right?
Exactly. Same principle applies to your mind. Constantly consuming junk content, stuff that's just noise, low-value distraction, it fills your mind but doesn't really nourish it.
So identify the apps, the websites, the feeds that consistently suck your time without giving you much real value back.
And also, try to recognize your triggers. Why are you reaching for your phone right then? Is it boredom, stress, loneliness, or just pure habit?
Understanding the why is key.
Definitely. And then, based on that audit, the second part of step 1 is to proactively design your defaults. Make focus the easier option.
Okay, like how?
Delete apps you don't genuinely need, especially the major time wasters. Be ruthless with notifications. Turn off almost all of them. Very few actually require immediate attention.
Move the really distracting apps off your main home screen, maybe into a folder.
Good idea. Use built-in phone features like screen time limits or even third-party apps to block access to certain sites during your planned focus periods.
There's a great line in the source material about this, something like, design doesn't fade, willpower does.
Exactly. You can't just rely on willpower alone to constantly resist temptation in an environment designed to break it. You have to engineer your digital space to support your intention to focus.
Makes sense. Okay, step 2.
Step 2, consciously reclaim your prime focus windows.
Meaning?
Most of us have certain times of day when our brain is naturally sharper, more alert, better able to handle complex tasks. For a lot of people, that's first thing in the morning.
But what do most of us do first thing in the morning?
Exactly. We grab the phone, dive into email, scroll through news feeds, react to whatever messages came in overnight. We give away our best mental energy to reactive, low-value tasks.
So the suggestion is to flip that script.
Flip the script. Protect those peak energy periods, maybe the first 60 minutes, maybe 90 minutes of your workday. Dedicate that time before you open the floodgates of email and notifications to your single most important task.
The deep work, the creative thinking, the planning.
Tackle that first when your mind is freshest.
Got it. Step 3.
Step 3 is about actively training your brain for depth. Focus isn't just something you have or don't have. It's like a muscle. You have to build it.
So practice single tasking, which feels almost revolutionary now.
It does, but it's crucial. Choose one task, just one, and commit to working only on that for a set period, even if it's just 15 or 20 minutes to start.
It probably feels weirdly slow at first, right? 'Cause your brain wants to jump around.
It will feel slow, maybe even frustrating. Your brain has been wired for those quick hits, those context switches. But consistent practice, day after day, starts to rebuild that capacity for sustained, focused attention.
Expect resistance, but stick with it.
Persistence is absolutely key here.
Okay, step 4.
Step 4, become much more intentional about your inputs. What you feed your mind matters immensely.
What you consume shapes how you think, what you focus on.
And ultimately, your ability to maintain attention. So be deliberate. Choose consciously the people you engage with online and offline, the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the articles and videos you seek out.
Prioritize sources that actually challenge you, expose you to diverse, thoughtful ideas, sources that align with who you want to become and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, curate your intellectual diet with intention. One source, put it starkly. Curate your feed like your future depends on it, because in a way, it does.
That's powerful. Okay, step 5.
Step 5, actively reintroduce silence and unstructured time into your life.
Oof, that sounds
Oof.
difficult.
It's incredibly challenging in our hyper-connected, always-on world, but it's so vital.
What does that look like practically?
Go for a walk without headphones sometimes. Sit quietly for a few minutes without reaching for a screen. Eat a meal without watching something. Just let your mind wander.
Let it be bored.
Let it be bored. That's often where the good stuff happens. Clarity doesn't usually come from adding more noise, more input. It emerges from the quiet within when your own thoughts finally have space to surface. That's where original ideas often spark.
Okay, I need to try that more. Finally, step 6.
Step 6, define your focus goal. What's the point of reclaiming all this attention?
Right. It's not just about avoiding distractions for the sake of it.
Exactly. It's about directing that powerful, reclaimed energy towards something specific and meaningful to you. So you have to ask yourself, what do I actually want my attention to build?
Is it a new skill? Starting a business? Deepening a relationship? Improving my health?
Whatever it is, having clarity on that why, that positive goal, provides the deep motivation needed to consistently say no to the endless stream of distractions.
Because if you don't consciously choose what your attention will build,
Someone or something else, the algorithms, the advertisers, the news cycle, they will happily choose for you.
that really brings it all together.
Yeah, the material makes this incredibly powerful connection. Attention is energy, and where energy goes, life grows.
Wow.
So this whole exercise, it isn't just about managing your time better or being slightly more productive. It's about a fundamental shift.
From being this passive consumer, constantly reacting to whatever demands your focus.
To becoming a conscious, deliberate investor of your most valuable energy into the things that truly matter for the life you want to live.
And it doesn't require, perfection overnight, does it?
Not at all. The material really emphasizes that the biggest leap is just becoming aware. Waking up to this dynamic, noticing how your attention is being pulled, recognizing the value of it, that's the start.
It's amazing to think about it that way, that your attention isn't just something passively taken. It's something you actively give.
It is, and that act of giving, that conscious direction of your focus, well, that might just be the most powerful lever you have for shaping your own mind, your habits.
And ultimately, the whole trajectory of your life.
Absolutely.
In a world that seems increasingly relentlessly designed to just shatter our focus, pull us in a million directions at once, choosing to intentionally direct your attention, choosing to be fully present in a moment, it almost feels like an act of rebellion, doesn't it?
It really does, a quiet, purposeful rebellion. Because you simply cannot create the life you truly want if you're living on autopilot.
If your thoughts, your feelings, your actions are constantly being nudged and manipulated by systems that are optimized for their profit,
Yeah.
not necessarily for your well-being or your deepest goals.
Right. And attention, seen this way, isn't just about focus anymore. It becomes this incredibly powerful creative force.
What you consistently give your mind to.
What you choose to focus on day in and day out, whether you're conscious of it or not, that is fundamentally shaping who you are becoming.
So maybe the most important question we should be asking ourselves isn't just, how do I stop getting distracted all the time?
Although that's part of it.
Right. But the deeper, maybe more challenging, and definitely more empowering question is, what is actually worth my attention?
Yeah.
What is important enough for me to fiercely protect this mental energy for? What do I really want to build or learn or heal or create or become if I took my focus back?
That's the question that shifts everything. It's not about totally retreating from the modern world. It's about learning to navigate it with intention.
Learning to pause, to discern, to make conscious choices about where this incredibly valuable finite resource, your mental energy, goes.
Because your attention, it's more than just time. It really is the fundamental ingredient for pretty much every single result you want to create in your life.
If you can reclaim your attention.
You reclaim your agency, your ability to act purposefully.
And if you can reclaim your agency.
Then you gain the power to consciously start architecting a future that truly aligns with what matters most to you, your values, your aspirations.
So the challenge, really, that comes out of all this material for you listening right now is maybe this.
Take a moment today, just audit, honestly, where your attention has actually been going lately.
Then define for yourself, what are those focus goals? What's truly worth that energy?
And then commit. Commit to making just one intentional change today. Doesn't have to be huge.
Maybe turning off one set of notifications, setting a timer for focused work, leaving your phone out of the bedroom tonight.
Something small, manageable, but deliberate. To start bringing your mind back under your own direction.
It might feel like a tiny step.
But remember what the material reminds us. Every great transformation, every meaningful creation, it doesn't start with more noise and fragmentation.
It starts with clarity. It starts with focused intent.
Consider this your wake-up call, not necessarily from sleep.
But maybe from that pervasive state of digital distraction we all swim in.
Yeah. Let today be the day you start shifting. Shifting from being, the product in this attention economy.
To becoming the intentional architect of your own focus and ultimately your own life.
Well said.
Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the whole economy of attention. We really hope this conversation sparks some valuable thoughts for you.
Yeah, we truly appreciate you investing your own valuable attention with us today. And we look forward to diving deep into more fascinating topics with you in future discussions right here.
Thank you for listening. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the podcast is to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Every bit of support helps us keep creating content that actually matters. See you in the next one.